Hey guys, thanks so much for coming back to my channel. For today's Dancer Tings episode, we're talking with Kevein Parker, a dancer with Inlet Dance Theater Company here in Cleveland, Ohio. Before we get started, I wanted to shout out a way that we can support the Blackout Day 2020 on July 7th, in which we're asking folks to buy black on that day or just don't buy anything at all. A restaurant you can support for Blackout Day 2020 in Cleveland is Vegan Vibes, and they're a plant-based catering company featuring Afro-Latino and Afro-Caribbean inspired cuisine. Okay, thanks for watching. So thank you so much for doing this. Can you just briefly start with kind of how you got started with movement?
Yeah, back in high school, ninth grade, I joined a theater class known as Junior Ensemble. And with that, we kind of just explored a lot of theater, different elements of theater, whether that's like poetry, singing, or movement. And I particularly fell in love with the movement part of it, especially when it came to the more non-traditional partnering, which is something that Pilates uses or sort of created.
Cool. Now, could you explain like what is non-traditional movement for people who don't know?
Non-traditional partnering, you see it a lot in the ballet world, is, there's this traditional partnering where you have the man who sort of helps the woman like turn more or lift her up higher, balance longer, all of those things. What makes it non-traditional is that you not only have the man who like lifts the woman, but you have the men who lift each other, the women who lift each other, and the women who lift the men as well. So I just fell in love with that, and then I continued with it the entirety of my high school career, and then ventured into Inlet Dance Theater, which does that as well, along with some other components, and it was just on after that. I just kept going.
Can you talk more about your experience transitioning from high school straight into a dance company?
It was very, it was rough, not gonna lie, just because when I joined Inlet Dance Theater, there still wasn't a lot of training in my body. Most dancers have that story of like, oh, I started dancing when I was 3, or I could dance before I could even walk kind of deal.
Yeah.
And I was not the case. I was a little more experienced in like movement as far as like, just like lifting people and creating shapes with other people's bodies. But like as far as actual technique goes, I didn't have like any of it in my body at all. So, I was very fortunate and very lucky to be asked to join a professional dance company right out of high school. But again, there was a lot of catching up that I had to do just because I didn't grow up dancing at all. On top of that, I don't want to say school gives you this like bubble, but essentially, you are in a bubble. You can go get a job if you want to, but you're essentially like living under your parents' roof by their rules and everything. You have people, you have a support system. And I'm not saying that support system goes away, but after high school, some go to college and some just go right into like, I want to say the real world where you have to like go get a job, start paying bills, all of these things. So that was quite an adjustment for me. So doing all of that while also trying to catch up to everybody else in the company was quite a challenge for me.
I think that's like a really important story to highlight. A lot of dancers or people who like view dancers think, oh, you got to start out the womb dancing technique or whatever. And that's not necessarily the case for a lot of movers because it's an expensive art form to be a part of, and sometimes you just don't have those resources or access to that technique. So I think it's like bravo for you for being able to just hop in and hang on. Could you talk more about the things that you had to do to kind of work your way up to a point where you feel confident as a professional mover?
Yeah, the weird thing about dance is that it's one of those art forms where you're constantly looking at yourself in the mirror and making adjustments to improve yourself. And for that reason alone, you never actually feel like you're quite done or that you've quite made it, because there's always something else that you can adjust or improve upon. But it was just a lot of time and dedication put in the work in. Dancing it's a sport at the end of the day, whether people acknowledge it as a sport or not, it is. So when you're a professional athlete, yeah, we might rehearse for like from like 9 to 3 p.m. or something along those lines. But once that's over, it's everything that you do outside of the studio that's just as important as inside of the studio. So remembering like what were those corrections that I heard, applying those into my body, going through the techniques slowly in my own room so that I could like actually learn what it's supposed to feel like and what it's supposed to look like. And then just again having to like learn the rep and spending like hours online just like studying the video.
Yeah, you did that. You're still doing that, which is great. I noticed on your social media that you say you're a licensed massage therapist. Can you talk about like how you go from inlet to massage therapy?
It's interesting because a lot of people don't realize just how common massage is. If you were to like run your knee into like a desk or something, what you do is you just rub it out of habit because you know that helps it feel better for a little bit. I would always just like massage other people, but I had no idea what I was doing. I just got feedback that like it felt nice and that I was good at it and I really enjoyed doing it. So I figured why not find something that I really like doing, be really good at that thing so that people are willing to pay me to do that thing that I really like to do. I went to Tri-C in the Eastern campus because that's the only one that had the massage therapy program. And it was just interesting because I was an evening student. So even as I would like leave the studio and go right to school and then get home and study and study and study and then wake up and dance all over again while still trying to make sure I'm fueling myself and doing the things that I need to do to stay in shape and stay on top of like choreography and technique. Dancers are overworked and underpaid a lot of times. I mean, dance has actually been recognized as the most like difficult sport you can do, but there's no money to show for it. So I was always just like, I want to be that guy that can help dancers like work their bodies and heal their bodies so that they can continue to do this thing that they love to do, even when we may not always be able to afford it because the money isn't always there as a professional dancer.
And I don't know how it works, but do you do freelance work or is there a place where I can link, if people want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I work at Massage Envy in Macedonia, but I also take clients in my own home or I come to them as well. So it's really just, anyone can contact me. And then if they wanted a massage or they wanted to know more about massages and what that entails, then they can totally just hit me up.
Great. I'm going to link all of that down below. What is something that you wish you knew earlier that you know now in your movement journey?
Man, well, I tell you what, if I knew that I was going to be a professional dancer, I would have started stretching a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's just, even to this day, like I'm 7 years in, but I'm still just like, oh my gosh, like everything just feels so tight. Everything still is tight. And, I wish, I'm not saying that I regret not being able to take dance since I was like 3, but it would have been nice to like have that, at least have some of that flexibility that people get from dancing for so young.
Yeah. We're kind of in the same boat. I didn't start dancing until high school in the same program. So I'm with you. Like every evening, every morning, I'm trying to stretch, and it's like I do this every day. Why isn't it like
right? It's so hard.
And then some days are like really good, and then some days, that's real advice. So that's all the questions that I have so far. For Inlet, are there any, I know since COVID is happening, there's a lot of changes, but are there any upcoming shows that people should check out?
You can catch us with like a bunch of like online stuff, like Station Hope. Cleveland Public Theater is doing like a Station Hope series virtually, and we'll be featured in that, as well as Cleveland Public Theater has an Arts in August that they do in Tremont, and we'll probably be featured in that as well.
Thank you so much for doing this interview.
Absolutely.